One morning, Chibiko woke up. He stretched, as usual. He pulled off his covers and got out of bed, as usual. He showered and cleaned himself up, as usual. He went to prepare breakfast, as usual. Now, I say as usual because Chibiko does indeed usually eat breakfast. He's only missed breakfast one time in the past year, and that was because he thought he saw a butterfly in his house, and by the time he had finished searching for it, it was already lunchtime. What is less usual, less recurring, is what Chibiko has for breakfast. Sometimes he has toast. Oftentimes, he has a bowl of cereal. There are also times where he might have waffles, bacon and eggs or porridge, yogurt, fresh fruit, or even fish and rice. This day, he decided to make pancakes. Chibiko got his pancake mix and eggs and milk and whisked them all together in a bowl. Then, he heated his pan, added some butter, and poured the goopy mixture in. He waited for his pancake to show bubbles and then, because he was feeling brave and quite clever, instead of using a spatula to flip it over, he picked up the frying pan and tossed his pancake in the air. 1, 2, 3. He counted while waiting to catch it again. 4, 5, 6. It was starting to occur to Chibiko that his pancake was taking a while to come down again. 7, 8, 9. Something had to be wrong. Chibiko looked up and... Oh no! His pancake was stuck to the ceiling! Chibiko tried jumping, but he couldn't get high enough to reach the pancake. Next, he tried standing on a chair, but the ceiling was simply too high. Chibiko's tummy rumbled. Whatever would he do? He was too small to get the pancake down again. Suddenly, he had an idea. He went to the closet and came back with a broom. Its handle was very long, and with it he was able to reach the roof. But he was very clumsy and kept on missing his pancake. Instead, he hit the roof with a tap, tap, tap. It seemed hopeless. But then Chibiko heard a thud. And then another. He had made the feet upstairs angry, and they were stomping to let him know. Thud. 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 That last thud was big, and Chibiko closed his eyes with surprise for just a second. When he opened them again, he saw his pancake flying down towards his face. Splat! The pancake landed perfectly on his face, and so Chibiko sucked it into his mouth with one big slurp. Well, he thought to himself, that's one way to eat breakfast. He would have to take another shower, but at least his breakfast had been delicious. It was a pleasant enough day, but as is often the case with pleasant enough days, it was also a little bit boring. Yesterday, Chibiko had been looking forward to a day of doing nothing, but now he was beginning to wish that he had made some plans. At least the summer sun would not set until late, and so Chibiko decided that maybe he could go for a walk and look for something to do. And so he opened his door, left his house, closed his door, and walked down the street. Chibiko walked for a bit, and eventually found himself at the entrance to Button Park. Off in the distance, you could see what looked like different enticing candies standing up and decorating the grass. Candy, he thought to himself. I like candy. Cotton candy in particular. And so he walked towards the giant-looking candies to see what was happening. As he got closer, Chibiko saw that what he had thought to be large candies weren't actually candies at all. Rather, they were a mix of different stalls and rides. That's right, Chibiko remembered. The town fair is very soon. They must be setting up and getting ready for it. Without even realizing it, Chibiko had wandered into the fair, even though it wasn't open yet. He started to feel nervous. Was he going to get into trouble? He decided that he should try and sneak away. But just as he turned around, he heard a voice. You there! Who are you? Chibiko froze in his tracks, suddenly very frightened. Turn around, the voice said. Chibiko did as he was told, and turned around to see the carrot that was speaking to him. The carrot gave Chibiko a meatball. It was very yummy, and Chibiko said so. No sooner had he done this, however, than a stick of celery called him over. It wanted Chibiko to try its cheese sticks. They were also very good. Then a radish gave him some pizza to try. A tomato some fried chicken, an aubergine some mutton curry, and a spring onion had him try its pork adobo. All of it was scrumptious, and Chibiko was feeling quite full. Almost too full to eat. He was ready to tell the squash that he only had space left for fairy floss, but it turned out that the squash wanted Chibiko to try a spinning chair ride. Since he didn't have to eat anything, Chibiko agreed. The spinning chair ride was a lot of fun. It was almost like driving a race car, and... Uh-oh. Chibiko looked down and realized that he wasn't wearing his seatbelt. Seconds later, he went flying from his chair and landed in a kind of metal bin filled with tiny pink crystals. At first, Chibiko thought his head was spinning, but then he realized that it was the bin that was spinning, and he was in it. The pink crystals seemed to turn into clouds around him, and when the spinning eventually stopped, he was covered in a huge ball of cotton candy. Oops, sorry about that, said the broccoli that had been manning the cotton candy cart. No problem, Chibiko replied. I love cotton candy. And with that, Chibiko ate all of the cotton candy that was covering him, and, since he was now quite sticky, decided to go home to take a shower. He felt a little bit sick, but he was very happy. One day, Chibiko woke up with a song stuck in his head. It was a song about wheels on a bus going round, and about daddies sleeping, and mummies hushing, and drivers honking. He hummed it as he got out of bed. He hummed it as he took a shower. He hummed it while he made his breakfast. And he hummed it with a mouthful of toast, which caused him to splutter a bit. After he was done eating and cleaning up his mess, the song was still stuck in his head, and so he decided that there was only one thing he could do about it. He would go out and ride a bus. And so he went out and walked towards the nearest bus stop. Partway there, Chibiko realized that he was going to ride the bus for a long time. But he had forgotten to pack any lunch. And so he popped into the donut shop that was on the way. The donut shop was amazing. It had all kinds of donuts. Sugar glazed donuts, donuts with chocolate frosting, donuts filled with strawberry jam, slug flavored donuts. There were also small donut balls and, most impressive of all, there were big donuts. Really big donuts. One donut was about as big as Chibiko himself, and so he bought it and rolled it with him to the bus stop. The bus came after only a few minutes, and Chibiko rolled his donut on board, bought a ticket for both it and himself, and after deciding that since he paid for the tickets and thus should be the one who got to sit beside the window, sat with his giant donut on a seat towards the back of the bus, right by the window. As the bus drove around town, Chibiko saw many different things. There were some buildings that were pointy and some buildings that were curved. There were some trees that were green and some trees that were pink. He saw restaurants that served food he had never heard of before. He saw places where he could play sports like tennis or basketball or soccer. When the driver asked him where he wanted to get off, Chibiko replied that he had decided to just stay on until the bus looped back to where he got on. He was enjoying his day a lot. But then, disaster. The bus suddenly became very bumpy, and then it slowed down, and then it stopped. "Oh dear," said the bus driver. "I think we have a flat tire." Chibiko got out with the driver and looked at the tire. The driver was right. It was flat. According to the driver, they would have to wait for the bus company to bring a new tire, and that might take hours. "Oh no," Chibiko thought. "I want to go home soon." The driver got his phone out from his pocket to make a call. But then Chibiko had an idea. "Wait here," he said, and disappeared into the bus. A couple of minutes later, Chibiko came back out with his giant donut. "Can we use this?" he asked. "You know, maybe we can," the driver said. "It's a good thing that your donut really is very big." And so, the driver replaced the flat tire with Chibiko's donut. The ride was still a bit bumpy because the donut wasn't the exact same size as the wheels, but it was much better than before. And so the driver took Chibiko home. After he got off from the bus and walked back to his house, Chibiko thought about how lucky it was that he hadn't eaten the big donut. It really was too big for him, and he still wasn't very hungry. Besides, he figured that he should eat something a bit more healthy for dinner anyway. One day, Chibiko woke up with his face down in his pillow. He breathed in and... Yuck! It smelled really bad. He quickly jumped out of bed, removed his pillowcase, and threw it into the laundry. The smell on the pillowcase had to have come from somewhere though. And after some thinking, Chibiko decided that the smell must have come from his own head. When was the last time he had shampooed anyway? He couldn't remember. And so, Chibiko headed to the shower with a bottle of shampoo in hand. Once the water was nice and warm, and he was wet all over, Chibiko squeezed a little shampoo onto his hand. Then, he squeezed a little bit more. Was that enough? He wasn't really sure. All that he was sure about was that it had been a long time since the last time, so maybe it would be safest to squeeze out some more. Chibiko made sure that his head was wet and then started to scrub in the shampoo. It became foamy very quickly, and soon he had to close his eyes so as to stop the soap suds from hurting them. It had been a long time since he had last washed his head though, and so he continued to scrub and scrub and scrub. Because his eyes were shut, Chibiko didn't notice that all of the bubbles and foam from his shampoo had grown so large that they had gotten too big for just the shower and had now covered his sink and filled his bedroom. Chibiko started to hum as he scrubbed. Hum, hum, hum. The suds continued to grow. They filled his living room. They reached his dining room. They started to fill the kitchen. In the laundry, Chibiko had also used too much soap for his pillow sheet, and his washing machine was starting to overflow with bubbles of its own. They filled the laundry room, and then they went into the rest of Chibiko's home and mixed with the bubbles from the shampoo. Soon, bubbles were being forced to escape from Chibiko's windows. People outside could see them floating through the sky. Chibiko ran water over his head. He washed his face and opened his eyes. Everything he could see was white. White everywhere. His entire home was filled with foam and bubbles. He pushed his way through, got a towel and dried himself. Then, unsure what to do, he found his bed and decided to take a nap. When he woke up, all of the bubbles had faded away and his home was sparkling clean. Whew, he thought, that's lucky. Not only are all of the bubbles gone, but it looks like I don't have to clean the house anymore. And so he made and ate some breakfast. And when it came time to clean his plates, he was very careful to use only a little bit of dish soap. One day, Chibiko slept for so long that when he woke up, it was already getting dark outside again. Oh dear, he thought to himself. I'm wide awake and it's almost bedtime again. What should I do? Chibiko wasn't used to being up so late. Daytime was for being awake and nighttime was for sleeping. Whatever did people do during nighttime anyway? He thought about this for a moment, and then it hit him. people watch movies in their homes at nighttime. At least, he thought that was one thing that they might do. And so, Chibiko got a bowl of popcorn and sat himself down in front of his television with his remote in hand so that he could see what movies there were to watch. There were funny movies, there were cartoons, and there were romantic movies. There were also action movies. Chibiko imagined what it might be like to be a kung fu master. Sad movies, and movies about real life. There were also scary movies. Ah, Chibiko thought, scary movies are what people watch late at night. I'll watch a scary movie. And so, Chibiko chose a scary movie, sat back, and started to eat his popcorn. The movie was very scary, and after a while, Chibiko could swear that he saw a spider creeping towards him from the corner of the room. Chibiko thought that he should get up from his chair and go to another room, but when he tried to, he found that he was too scared to move. The shadowy object got closer and closer and closer. And then, it said, "Hello! Gah!" Chibiko started to shriek, but then he paused. He had been expecting a roar, or an evil laugh, or maybe something like the sound of nails on a chalkboard. Instead, he had heard a simple hello. It was a friendly sounding hello too. It even sounded a little bit shy, like maybe it was also scared. Chibiko opened his eyes. "Hello," the thing said again. "My name is Danny. I live in the treehouse next door." Danny reached out a thin arm and Chibiko shook his hand. "Nice to meet you," he said. "Would you like to watch this movie with me? I think we'd both feel braver if we had a friend to watch with." And so, thanks to a scary movie, Chibiko became friends with a little triangle that had been hiding near his home.